Peace, everybody. Welcome to today's yoga practice. My name is Ben, and we'll get started standing up today. I have 2 blocks as usual for today's practice, but you don't necessarily need any props besides yourself and your practice space. As you get started in your standing position, take a little bend into the knees and then begin twisting side to side. Let these be some pretty easy twists that allow you to just become aware of how your body is rotating. The little bend in the knees just kind of helps to keep the legs pretty stable so that the twist is coming from our spine, not our hips. You can even let your arms swing a little bit. Arms can kind of slap onto the sides of the body. Let's just keep this going here for another 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, on 1. Let that go. Shake it out a little bit. And then reach the arms up to the sky. Begin flashing the palms. And really try to find good extension through the fingertips. And good energy through the wrists and forearms. Keep this going for 10, 9. You can always kind of walk forward and back on your mat as you do so. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, on 1. Swing it out. Relax the arms. And then step to the top of your mat. Inhale, reach your arms up to the sky. Exhale, forward, fold down to the earth. Inhale, halfway lift and lengthen through your spine. Exhale, forward fold. Plant the hands down, step the left foot back, and then the right foot back, plank pose. Take a chaturanga push-up, so lower down halfway, and then come right back up, and drop your knees, drop your forearms, shift the hips back in space, and then pull yourself forward into upward facing dog, or a baby cobra pose if you prefer that. And then we'll come back to downward facing dog. As we meet back in down dog, full breath in. Exhale out. Inhale, lift heels, bend knees, look forward. Exhale, walk to the top of the mat, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward folds. Inhale, sweep arms up to the sky. Exhale, hands pull to your heart. Inhale, reach arms up to the sky. Exhale, forward fold to the earth. Inhale, halfway lift and lengthen. Exhale, forward fold and step the right foot back, followed by the left foot, plank pose. Chaturanga push-up, so lower halfway, and then come back up. Drop knees and forearms, shift the weight back. Pull the weight forward, hips pull through towards the wrists. Toes point behind you, shoulders drop from the ears, upward facing dog. And then release and find your downward facing dog. As you come into down dog, go ahead and lift the right leg up to the sky for 3-legged dog. And then step the right foot about halfway up the mat and plant the foot. Rise up into warrior 3. And if you can, go ahead and float the fingertips off the mat, hands to heart center. From here, stork pose, or 1-legged Tadasana. Left knee pulls into the chest, arms reach up to the sky. And then see how lightly you can place the left foot back down onto the ground. Once the left foot lands onto the ground, reach both arms up to the sky. Inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands to the mat. Crawl yourself out to a plank pose. So we're just kind of getting started in balance today. From plank, take a chaturanga push-up, lower halfway, and then come back up. Drop knees and forearms, shift the weight back. Inhale, pull your being through, upward facing dog. And then exhale, roll it back, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift left leg up to the sky, 3-legged dog. Exhale, step to the middle of your mat, plant the left foot down, and then rise up into warrior 3. From warrior three, stork pose or one-legged Tadasana, right knee pulls into the chest. Take an inhale. Exhale, go ahead and drop the right foot down. On your inhale, arms up to the sky. Exhale, forward fold. We're going to be adding on, kind of laddering up. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, walk yourself out to plank pose. From plank pose, lower halfway to chaturanga, back up to plank, and just kind of move through your vinyasa from there. That's kind of what I'll say from now on, is move through your vinyasa. You can do it the way I'm doing it, or you can take the classic chaturanga up dog, down dog. Or you can skip it or do anything else. After all, it's your practice. Inhale the right leg up to the sky, three-legged dog. Exhale, step the right foot to plant in the middle of the mat. Rise up, warrior three. Challenge your balance. Come up to one-legged Tadasana. This time, straighten your left leg out in front of you. Hold there for 5, 4, 3, 2. On 1, keep the leg floating. Bend the knee. Swing it back, warrior three. Test your balance, test your stability. Pull left knee into the chest. Straighten your left leg. Kick it out in front of you. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2. On 1, land the left foot, and then dancer's pose. Connect right hand to right foot or ankle, and begin to use that bind to kick, lean, and find new space. Take a couple breaths at your own pace here. Slowly release. Bring the hands to the ground. Right foot steps back behind you. Three-legged down dog. Left leg threads up to the sky. Step the left foot to the middle of your mat. Warrior three, come up into the balance. Hands to heart center. Stork pose or one-legged Tadasana. Right knee into the chest. Straighten through the right leg. Kick it forward. Bend the knee, back to warrior three, right leg reaches back. Stay breathing here, try not to hold your breath. Let it flow. Right knee into the chest, stork pose, straighten out the right leg, kick it forward for 3, 2. On 1, step the right foot forward, lean out, dancer's pose, left hand to left foot or ankle, and then expand from there. Slowly release the bind, and then step your left foot back as the hands come to the ground. Thread the right leg up to the sky for three-legged dog, and then step the right foot through to the middle of your mat. Warrior three, rise up into the balance. Stork pose, or one-legged Tadasana, left knee in, extend and straighten through the left leg for 3, 2. On 1, warrior three, left leg reaches back in space. Back up to stork or one-legged Tadasana, straighten left leg out in front of you. Kick it forward for 3, 2. On 1, land the left foot, dancer's pose with left foot down, right foot or ankle into right hand. Try to take about 2 or 3 breaths there. Release, listen carefully, warrior two. So we'll slowly step the right foot back. We'll land the right foot at the back of the mat, and then we'll open the hips for warrior two. Breathe here. Strong in your back right leg, aware in the hands, and aware in the fingertips, aware in the heart. Triangle pose, extend through the left leg, reach the left hand forward, and then drop it into your Trikonasana. Find some space. From triangle pose, lean out, balancing half moon. Left hand can float or find its place on a block. Keep lifting through the left foot. Flex the toes back toward the shin. Slowly step back. As you step back, rise to star pose. Turn sideways towards the right edge of your mat. Arms reach up to the sky. And then lower into goddess pose. Heels click in. Toes point out. Sink into goddess pose. And I actually have been enjoying this variation of bringing forearms to inner thighs or inner knees. And what this does is it allows you to get a lot deeper into the hips, but the position kind of begins to support itself naturally as you rest forearms on your thighs. Try to keep the spine relatively long. We're here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, on 1, hands down, pivot the heels out for a wide-legged forward fold. You could even pigeon toe the feet a little bit as you drop into a nice deep standing fold. Take a halfway lift, lengthen through your spine. Into Skandasana lunge, back of the mat, bend into the right knee, shift the hips in that direction, sit tall through the spine. From here, cruise to the top of the mat, plant the right hand down, wild thing. Right hand supports our weight, left foot steps behind us, bridge the hips up into wild thing, and adjust into any other variation as you desire. From wild thing, slowly close it off back to plank pose into chaturanga, and feel free to take your flow from there back to downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, inhale, left leg up to the sky. Exhale, step halfway up the mat, plant the foot, rise up, warrior 3. From warrior 3, knee into chest, one-legged Tadasana, and then kick the right leg forward for 3, 2. On 1, warrior 3, re-extend back behind you, and then come back up. Kick the right leg forward for 3, 2. On 1, slowly land the right foot out in front of you, dancer's pose, left hand to left foot or ankle. Go ahead and find some space. And then release, and we'll step back to warrior 2. So please take your time with this step back and try to land with mindfulness. Once you do land, arms open, warrior 2. We have a few breaths here. Find the moment. Sometimes it's nice to just let out a nice audible exhale. There are so many ways to exhale, especially when you're in the comfort of your own home. Just kind of let it out. Triangle pose. Extend, reach, and hinge into space. The arms and the upper body are the expression of the pose, so find lots of strength through the thigh muscles of your legs. And then use that strength and stability to find mobility and range through the upper body. And then look down at the ground, begin to inch your way out to Ardha Chandrasana, balancing half moon. Right hand can come to a block or float off the ground or fingertips to the ground. You have these options. Last breath. Slowly step back, turn sideways, star pose. Reach the arms up to the sky, and then lower into goddess pose. You can stay upright in goddess pose. You can bring hands to knees, or do what we did last time and bring elbows toward knees or forearms toward thighs. Sometimes it's nice to kind of mosey side to side a few times, kind of like you're flossing through the energy in your hips. From there, take an inhale, Exhale toward wide-legged standing forward fold. Heels pivot out, head drops down. Settle into deeper space. Take a halfway lift to lengthen through the spine, and then a skandasana lunge at the back of your mat. From skandasana lunge, shift forward, plant the left hand down, vashisthasana side plank, or go right into wild thing as the right foot steps over and behind the left. Bridge the hips up. Then slowly close it off to plank pose, and then move through your flow or your vinyasa to bring you back toward downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, inhale the right leg up to the sky, step the right foot through to the middle of the mat, and then rise up to a warrior three. One-legged Tadasana, left knee into the chest, kick the foot forward for 3, 2. On 1, left leg reaches back to the space behind you for 3, 2. On 1, one-legged Tadasana, left knee into the chest, kick the leg forward for 3, 2. On 1, land the left foot, dancer's pose, right hand to right foot or ankle. Go ahead and expand, and then notice the space that we've been creating over the course of our practice today. Release the foot. See how slowly you can step back to warrior 2. Give yourself a couple breaths once you land in the posture. Triangle pose. Extend, reach, and hinge. Find the full posture. Balancing half moon. Lean out. Find the balance. Maybe you try floating the hand this time. Now that we've done it once before, we have that kind of repetition, that muscle memory beginning to build. Step back, star pose, turn sideways, inhale up. Exhale, goddess pose, any variation. We'll be here this time for 20, 19, 18. Challenge your mind and your body. 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Wide-legged fold. If you stuck with me on that one, good job. And even if you took a break and then came back into it, great job. Halfway lift into Skandasana, back of the mat. Shift to the top of the mat, plant the right hand down, wild thing, or any other variation supported by the right hand. Begin to close it off to plank pose, and then move through your flow, which will eventually bring you back to downward facing dog. From down dog, inhale left leg to the sky. Exhale, step left foot to middle of mat, rise up to warrior 3. Kick the right leg forward as you rise up to one-legged Tadasana for 3, 2. On 1, warrior 3, right leg re-extends behind you. Rise up, kick the right leg forward for 3, 2. On 1, slowly lower the right heel, left hand, left foot or ankle, dancer's pose, Natarajasana. Slowly release the foot, mindfully step back, take your time. Warrior 2. Breathe. Triangle pose. Extend, reach, find the posture. Balancing half moon. Maybe you try it with the full balance, floating your right hand a few inches off of the ground. Step back into star pose. Turn sideways once you do get there. And then goddess pose. Settle into the hips. We'll hold this space for 20. 19. Stick the butt back behind you if you're hinging kind of like me. 16. 15. 14. 13. 12. If you want more of a challenge, you could float the heels and rise onto the toes. I can only do it for a little bit. Let's see what we got. 10. 9, 8. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. On 1. Pivot the heels out. Relax down. Wide-legged forward fold. From here, take a halfway lift. Move into Skandasana lunge at the back of the mat. Shift to the top of the mat. Plant left hand down, wild thing or any variation as the right foot steps over and behind the left. Let's close it off, returning to plank pose and moving through your flow, which will bring you back to downward facing dog. As we get back to downward facing dog, give yourself 3 breaths here. Feel yourself push the ground away. Take a deep bend into both knees. And then step the right shin forward, half pigeon pose. Before you just surrender into the fold, make it active, so sit up tall. Be light on the hands, lift through the chest, even find a little bit of a sensation as if you were going to a back bend. And then we'll settle into nice deep space. So this will be active. You can do this reaching the arms back behind you. I've been enjoying hands to hips for this. We'll take an inhale, and then we'll lower actively on the exhale. Inhale, come up. Exhale, lower. And do 10 more like this, kind of like oscillating pigeon. And this is really building strength and mobility before we surrender down into the deep stretch, because it's great to have flexibility, but what's often more useful than flexibility is our ability to control our ways in and around and throughout our flexibility, and that's sort of what mobility means. Okay, once you've done a fair amount of these oscillations, you can let yourself crawl into pigeon. Today's invitation is, instead of just dumping down into it, be long, so reach the fingertips as far forward as you possibly can. It's okay for your head to come down if it can. And just feel length in the spine. Slowly begin to lift up. Option to stay, option to add on the twist. Left fingertips down. Right hand will reach back to the left foot or ankle. I know this twist may seem pretty intense for a lot of folks. One thing you can do to make it a lot easier is to use a blanket or a block, or even both, underneath your right hip, and use that to kind of prop yourself up and find a little bit more space to lift and then twist. Release that twist if you did have it. Swing the right leg around, Janu Shirshasana, seated tree pose, side body stretch. So turn a little bit once you get there over your right leg, and then dip and stretch. And sometimes it's even nice to reach left hand towards right kneecap, and then right arm up to the sky. If you want to, you can reach right hand to left foot. It just feels a little bit intense for me. I'm feeling a little tight in my side bodies today, so I'm not going to personally go all that way. Slowly release. Keep the left leg forward as you bend the left knee and set up for half pigeon on this side. Right leg reaches back behind you. Find the position to start. And we'll spend a handful of breaths just seated up on our fingertips. With the option to go ahead and place a block underneath your left hip if it's already kind of popping up off the ground. We'll set up for our oscillations. So again, arms reaching back is sometimes the easier way to do this. It's how I kind of built some strength at first. Hands to hips is a good way, and if you need to use your hands, just use your hands. There's nothing wrong with that. Inhale up, exhale down, and then just continue. Use this to build strength. Feel your left shin pressing into the earth. Give me maybe 4 or 5 more. Then once you've gone through several rounds of these oscillations, we'll fold. But again, instead of just folding and collapsing down, lengthen, 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 until you naturally are in a fold. Begin to release. Sit up tall. An option to add on the twist. Again, the twist can be intense, so if it's not there for you today, it's something to think about building toward. And those oscillations will help you get there. For me, it took many years of practice. I've actually been practicing yoga for about 8 to 10 years now, somewhere in there. And this year was the first time I could bring myself into this variation. And even then, it's still very intense for me. Janu Shirshasana, right leg swings around, seated tree pose. Turn and find your side body stretch. And so I know sometimes it's easy to be on the internet and see all these yoga teachers doing these crazy postures and stuff, but just know that it's really only usually it's because of either natural flexibility or lots of time spent in practice to build toward those places. Believe it or not, I used to be very tight. Couldn't touch my toes, couldn't even sit crisscross applesauce, for real. But we get to see how our bodies are very adaptable over long time horizons. So you're never going to change your body completely over the course of 1 month or maybe even 1 year, but over the course of 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, you can make very significant changes if you just stick with a routine with relative consistency. Go ahead and release out of this. Extend both legs long in front of you, wide-legged seated forward folds. When I do this posture, I like to keep the thigh muscles engaged, and as you'll see, I like to find mobility in my ankles. It just feels interesting, feels nice, kind of keeps me in the game. Versus if I just relax everything, then I don't feel like I'm kind of in it as much, if that makes sense. Go ahead and sit up. Cross one shin over the other for a Sukhasana forward fold. If you'd like to take double pigeon, take double pigeon. We're not here for too long, just a few breaths to find a little bit of deeper space in the hips since we've kind of taken the opportunity to open this much. We'll do one or two more hip openers. Slowly lift up, just enough to cross and switch the legs. And then fold for side number 2. Go ahead and release that. Lay down on your backs, and you could either lay flat for Shavasana, or if you have props with you, you could always lay into a supported fish pose with a block under your shoulders. For me personally, I'm going to lay flat in Shavasana for a few moments and then move into the supported fish to open my chest. Sometimes it's just nice to lay on a flat surface, let the spine find neutrality. Regardless, we're kind of moving into this resting part of the practice. If you're in a rush today, you could always kind of bow out of the practice now and keep going throughout your day, but I do recommend sticking with me and giving yourself a chance to kind of regulate and find calmness and find some release in your body. Again, whether that's Shavasana, fish pose, which I'm currently in with my 2 blocks, or any other postures that feel really relaxing or softening to you. When I'm in a fish pose, personally, it's a very intense place to be, so I do like to kind of wave my arms around. Sometimes I like to imagine that I'm drawing snow angels on the ground. That kind of sensation just to move through space. If you're in Shavasana, continue to just settle into your own energy. Embrace the experience of physical stillness. At the same time, feel the breath continue to calmly move through your organism. If you're in the fish pose, sometimes it takes a little moving and shifting the block to find the perfect spot. But once you find that spot, let the breath be present. All right, my friends, this is where I will leave you for today's practice. Feel free to remain in your resting position for some more time. Maybe spend a little moment in seated meditation before you proceed throughout your day. Regardless of your choice, thank you so much for joining me. It's always a blessing and a pleasure to share space, truly. Hope you have an amazing rest of your day and can't wait to do it again soon. Peace and love.